Hey everyone, it's Nico. In this video, I'm going to revisit a game that I reviewed a full year ago on my channel called Nordic. Now the reason for the revisit is that they just dropped the Remnants of Corruption paid DLC expansion, so we're going to specifically be taking a look at that. And if you're curious about the base game, I did review it a year ago. I did watch it back prior to recording this video, and I'm still really satisfied with that review. Normally, when you look back at some of your older content, maybe you cringe a little bit, or maybe you wish that you did certain things better. But honestly, I'm really pleased with that video, and it still applies even though a year has gone by. Sure, there's little things that have changed and improved about the game, but fundamentally, that review is perfectly adequate. So if you're a new player, go and watch that one first, or watch it after you finish this video. I'll have a link in the description below to head over there and check out my review of the base game. Now, for those of you that are not picking up the DLC, this new 2.0 version does also include some free content for you as well. There's a new paladin character, there are over 30 new relics, and they did rework some of the artifacts. Most of them, in fact. Now, since you're probably not familiar with the specifics of the artifacts anyways, that's really not going to affect you very much. Then, additionally, the last thing I do want to mention is that this game has only up to this point been on PC. There are console ports coming in the near future. This is going to be for the original Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 5, and it's going to be an Ultimate Edition. So I don't really know what that means, but it's probably also going to include the expansions, is what I would imagine. Additionally, it's not only going to be available digitally, it's also going to be available physically. So stay tuned for that, I guess, as they announce more specifics. Now, to get into the DLC and why you're all probably here, this contains an entirely new mode. We're going to play through a corrupted tower, and you're going to journey through it in a much different way than the base game. Some of your progress from the base game does carry over, but only your character-specific skill trees and your costumes. The Yggdrasil tree from the base game does not apply to this mode, and in fact, it has its own tower skill tree, and you're going to acquire corruption orbs and shards that are going to act pretty similar to the Yggdrasil seeds and leaves from the base game. And this is going to be how you apply your permanent progression as you play through the new tower mode. Additionally, with the paid DLC, there are new relics, there's new music, there's also a new character which has a hexing status effect that they can apply. So you're getting some more content there as well. But when you dive into the tower mode, initially you're only going to have the first difficulty, which is normal, and this is a 15 floor tower, which is going to take you about as long as a run of one of the levels from the base game did. So you're looking at probably that 20 to 25 minute mark for a run. If you can't complete it in one sitting though, what's great is you can actually back out and save, and you'll start over at whatever floor you were at. You can pick up where you left off and finish it. And this is a good thing because the higher the difficulty, the more floors there are. So those 35 plus floor runs are pretty lengthy. So if you need to take a break and come back, you can absolutely do that. So that's great. Now, when you first dive in, there's a new mechanic where you pick a deity, and these deities are basically like your focus areas. I was playing as a character where I like a poison-based build, so I was picking the poison deity, and these deities will also gain XP as you use them run to run and upgrade themselves. So it's similar to that meta progression that you have for each of the characters you use. The same applies for the deities. Now, the level isn't really that interesting, and I'm sure you're probably looking at it and thinking the same thing, but the tower is more of the Brotato style of arena combat, where you're confined to a small area. It's pretty bland to look at, and the music was starting to get a bit old after a few runs. But those are really my main two complaints with this so far. And you'll get waves of enemies. They're timed, so it's more of like a survive in this area for the set amount of time. You'll still gain XP, and then you'll also get your choice of upgrades at the end of each floor based on what room you chose. It has a little bit of Hades flair going on here, where you often have your choice between, two different room types, and it'll affect which rewards you get. So this DLC to me felt a bit like if you took Nordic Ashes, Brotato's level structure, and Hades' progression structure, threw them in a blender, and here you go. This is the Remnants of Corruption DLC. It seemed like every 5 waves, there was a mini-boss. You're going to fight some new bosses. Most of the mini-bosses seemed like they were new to me, and then it culminated at the end of the 15 floors in a proper boss. And then it threw up the completion screen, and that was the end of the run. Now, as you go through further and further and you do longer and longer runs, you are going to increase your corruption, which therefore increases the difficulty. This has a lot of risk-reward going on to it, and I think a bit more RNG than the base game did. Because in the base game, you had your character's skill tree that you would apply points to, and you knew that when you played that character, you were always going to have that skill tree. You still do have items from that same skill tree in this mode, but they're a bit more random in what you get, and there's also potential to get items and relics from other characters if you choose that room when you make your choices. I think these are all pretty neat things. This definitely felt like Nordic Ashes, but felt a little bit different. I would say I like the base game more than this, if I'm being honest, because there was far more to do there than there is here. There you can travel around a larger area. There's gold mines and relics to acquire and lots of reasons to move around, where this felt more like an arena shooter where you're confined into a small area. You basically got to just survive until the timer runs out, or defeat the mini boss or boss. You make your choices and then you move on. Overall, I think the Remnants of Corruption DLC is pretty fun, since I do like the games that this seems to be drawing a bit from in Brotato and Hades. It appeals to me, but I do see that there may be some of you out there that find this level structure and this idea of just running out the clock to be a bit boring. So hopefully I helped you decide if this is going to be right for you. I definitely recommend it, but if it doesn't look like something you'd be interested in, then just give it a pass. It does add a lot more replayability and a different twist on the Nordic Ashes formula, and it's pretty cheap at only $5, so really you don't have much to lose. But either way, I hope you enjoyed watching this video and my breakdown of the new DLC. If you enjoyed it, please give the video a like. Comment below if you have any questions on this or concerns on anything I covered in the video. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.